Yo, what's going on, everybody? You checking out it's Spence from the Highly Advised Podcast. This is episode 108. Of course, as you know, if you aren't seeing the face, you're probably going to hear the voices. I'm here with two of my best friends, two of my good brothers, otherwise known as Hill Jackson, otherwise known as the Tribal Chief. This is episode 108 of the Highly Advised Podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming, making sure you listen to everything from beginning to end, because we got a lot to talk about. But without anything else being said, how you brothers feeling, man? How my brothers feeling since the last time we talked?
First off, I want to say that God is the greatest. God is amazing. God is the best, no matter what you believe in. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. It's me, your guy, Big Cozy. I'm here returning from my absence from last week's episode, and now I'm here on this week's episode 108. Before Nigel introduces himself and tells you how his past few days have went, I would like to tell the listeners, the fans, the supporters, please, and viewers as well, please follow us at the Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram. Please follow us at Advise Highly on Twitter. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Highly Advised Podcast. Please make sure that you like, review, comment, share, send a message if you have to spread the word. Any good word is the best word for our word. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it will to somebody.
This is Relaxing _G Jackson, and I'm back on my friends to bring you guys another week of good news. And nothing new has really been going on for me. Just kind of moving stuff around, figuring some stuff out. But also, the preseason has started, and I've been watching Steelers football. As y'all know, before that Alchemist song was back there, I had the Steelers thing, and I'm a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
He's not. If you were a diehard, you would have kept the Steelers thing up. You would have had you always wearing the Steelers jersey. From now on, what you need to do is wear a Steelers jersey or Steelers t-shirt. If you're really diehard diehard with the Steelers, then you need to be wearing that shit on the podcast every day to represent that you are a follower. You are, mindless to the cause of the Pittsburgh nation, and you are not a free thinker. So let people know that you are a slave to the organization called the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's what's up. I didn't know it took all that to, say that you were a fan, but I'll try better. How about that?
Yeah.
No. A fan is like, you said you're a diehard fan. You said that you got the shackle around your neck.
I didn't say that.
It's black and yellow.
Black and yellow shackles around my neck.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
If you look at his license plate, it has the Steelers thing on it. If you look. I just don't know why you don't show it on a podcast. I know the true reason why you don't, but
why is that?
You sure you want me to tell the truth?
I'm curious.
Well, listeners and viewers, one day, many moons ago, Nigel was giving a point on something I forgot on the many topics that we have spoken about. And this viewer commented on the YouTube video, called Nigel an idiot, not bright.
Oh, man.
One of the stupidest men with the Steelers stuff in the background.
They did say that. I forgot.
They said that you could tell you could tell he's just not educated by his appearance and the way he enunciates his words. And then ever since then, off camera, listeners, you didn't see it, but off camera, Nigel was not happy about it. He was not happy about it. The first thing he did was yank the shit off the wall.
Wow. I just tore it down.
Took it off the wall and threw glasses on, man.
And Nigel said he'll never forget. He'll never forget it. So
You know,
he
yeah,
is
I
he is a
think
Steelers fan, but I don't think he's diehard.
man, it just be fraud, and that's all.
wow.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching the Steelers play the Seahawks actually, and Russell Wilson just left the Seahawks to go to the Broncos. You know, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they're about to have a good season as well. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy. A lot of QB movement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, a lot of QB movement, but at the same time, man, one thing I've when you speak of Russell Wilson, one thing we can't move past is like it seems like over the past year, Channing Crowder has like always had like some remark to say about this guy, yo.
Right.
I don't get it. I recently I know I saw you said something about like something about like he's not his type of guy because he puts mousse in his hair.
I
So
don't think
fucking hater.
he just doesn't like him.
So fuck, he's a hater. It's a difference between not fucking with a dude, not being cool with him, versus you fucking hate it. And he's hating. If you don't like Russell Wilson because you just like, in his own words and definition, you know, he doesn't hang around squares due to where he grew up and where he's from and the people he hang with, fine. But you don't gotta publicly keep shaming the man, trying to make it seem like it's cool to shit on another dude that's more successful for you on the football field. Outside the football field, you know, I don't know what they both got going on. You would like to assume that Russell is more successful. He owns a soccer team with his wife, married to his wife. You know what I mean? But Channing Crowder keep coming out and saying this shit about Russell. It makes it seem like A, he's a fucking hater, or B, him and Russell have beef behind the scenes, and Channing is just being more public about, you know, his disdain for Russell. But that's what it just seems like. You like this dude can't stop talking about Russell. He's a square. Sierra would have never been with him if he ain't had money.
I just feel like that's what
Like
when you
he's fucking hating. That's hater shit.
I feel like when you're not happy, like, you know what I mean? That's the type of shit you say about people. Like, because you just want to hate on them a little bit and try and make them seem, you know, less than for whatever reason he has. And I don't really understand it. I mean, maybe, like you said, it's something behind the scenes that we don't really know about. But I just, for from all accounts, it looks like Russell Wilson isn't that bad of a guy. Like, you know what
I
I
think
mean?
he's a fucking hater. That's all it is. For whatever reason, he has his issues with Russell Wilson. Why he feels like he needs to keep speaking on a man that bothers nobody and minds his own business. He comes off as fucking hater. If Russell Wilson is a herb, then so be it. The dude is a herb, but he's not a person that's bothering anybody.
Right.
You don't hear about no negative shit about the dude. The dude is a good. Every locker room you hear, hey, Russell Wilson is not a bad dude. He's cool. He shows leadership quality. Obviously, he took on another man's son that wasn't his own. Now that other guy's son is calling him pops and dad and stuff like that. And you know, I'm just saying. I feel like. Why is Channing hating on him? I don't, like I said, it's either the dude is hating on the success or he has real life personal issues with him. And if he does have any real life personal issues, then it is what it is. The motherfucker's a hater. Let's not beat around the bush. I'm not saying Channing Crowder is a piece of shit. I'm not saying Channing Crowder is a bad dude. I'm not even saying Channing Crowder was a terrible player or anything like that. Well, in this situation with Russell Wilson, he's coming off as a goddamn hater.
Hey, man, maybe he is a hater, you know? And Russell Wilson, like I said, from all accounts, he seems to be a good dude. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, man. I agree. I second what you're saying. In the sense of like, I think at this point, this has to be like a personal situation, just because like it makes no sense to keep going. It's like a witch hunt at this point of like, yo, there's something wrong with him. I mean, or it could be this. The other side of it could be, hey, anytime I say his name, the views go up. But either way, if that's the reason, I don't really celebrate that. But hey, to each his own, man.
I'm just saying. I think it's not cool, Channing, to trash on somebody that's done nothing to nobody.
So when you talk about people using other people's names to get on or whatever, I think that's what Mike Tyson is alleging Hulu is doing to him. They pretty much using his name to get up and get over, and they have a new, I guess, it wouldn't be a biography, but I guess a biopic of him coming out, and they are going to have it be called Mike. And I think the leading actor in it actually came out and he said, "Hey, I'm a fan of you. I'm trying to, do you an honor by acting out, in a decent way." And it's just an interesting thing to me seeing this all play out. Did y'all see this in the news?
I did. First of all, shouts out to the actor. I know he was in Moonlight, which was a big deal that year, and then he was also in Bird Box, which also was a big deal that year. And so I've seen him around in a few different movies and shit like that. So he's not a bad actor. I don't blame the actor at all for him to come out to apologize to Mike or kind of like show support or be like, "Hey, look, Mike, I'm not trying to disrespect you." He doesn't have to do that. That's Hulu's job. He's just a fucking actor. He got paid. They was given a script and he signed on to do it. It's not his business to know that Mike has issues with Hulu. So shouts out to him for being a generous and kind dude to do that, because he doesn't have to fucking do that. It has that whole Mike and Hulu shit has nothing to do with him.
Right.
If what Mike Tyson is saying is true, then Hulu's dead ass wrong. That's if Mike Tyson is saying it's true that, hey, they went behind my back to make this fucking shit. They even hit up Dana White to get involved. Yeah, that shit is fucking. Hulu's wrong for that. Now, it might not be Hulu, like the organization of Hulu. It's whoever was in charge of producing or developing the show. They're the real persons to blame. And I would just say, if Mike is telling the truth, like, "Hey, these motherfuckers are making something without my consent and my acknowledgement," then Mike is 100% right. Because really what Hulu can do is just, "Hey, let's not make this about Mike Tyson. Let's make it a story about another boxer and have some original series." But since they decide to highlight, "Hey, this is Mike Tyson," and it looks like they're doing a bunch of shit about his issues and of his past. Yeah, if I was Mike and I didn't agree onto it, yeah, I'm not greenlighting that, or I don't. Hey, you guys got to take that down. Whatever the fuck Mike is about to get embroiled with against Hulu. But if what he's saying is true, then Mike Tyson is correct.
I think there's something to be said about when these, I'll say, companies come out and do things with people without their permission. I think that's kind of unfair. Like, it's weird, even in a biopic sense, or just like, any type of story that's based off of something else, like novels and books and whatever. They take it and they go like either against the creator's vision or don't include the creator. I think that's an easy way to piss the creators off, piss the people who enjoy the actual original stuff off. It seems to never pay off because people just take it and do what they want. I saw Sandman recently, and Neil Gaiman wrote that. It's actually like a graphic novel, and he's actually like included in the show, and people love that, because I'm sure they love the original stuff as well, So, I mean, of course, like, Mike Tyson's right in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting. Like, the whole thing is very interesting in its own right. Like, I definitely understand the sentiment that Mike gives in terms of like the of not having any like part, or at least not being able to profit off of this. But he did make one interesting part, and I think if they could find maybe if it's a business side of it where they can come to some resolve, I think it probably would help Mike, because he said in an article where one of the things he did say that he did prefer about this was actually the fact that, well, he's a believer of not have something coming from one source of truth. So for him, one of the pros he does like about this is the fact that it's not relying on one source. So you're getting different points of perspectives from others. But I mean, hopefully, especially with someone like Mike Tyson, and knowing like the things that have been shopped around, and well, at least what we've heard or rumored of with Mike Tyson over the years, whether it's movies or sitcoms or so forth. I mean, I'm quite sure or hopeful that they'll find some resolve, or at least Mike will be able to find something else in terms of like whatever his next move is. But I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see like how this whole thing unfolds.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a good way to close this segment for sure.
So leading into this weekend, as you're watching this, listeners, we have something else on the way that has to do with fighting in the world of MMA. And it is UFC 278, listeners. Now, there are 3 big fights that are coming on this weekend that we wanted to highlight in particular. And I think we should start with that. Lau, do you want to lead in the listeners to what that first fight is that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, listeners. So UFC 278, August 20th on Saturday. The main event is Kamaru Usman rematching against Leon Edwards, a guy he beat almost 6 years ago. In that first fight, Kamaru Usman won a unanimous decision on the judge's scorecard, but Leon Edwards did win a round. It was a competitive fight. How do I know that? I'm memorizing it. If you don't believe me, eat a dick.
Oh my God.
The first
golly, boy.
the first fight I think we should just talk about, because we're not going to talk about the entire main card, is the Jose Aldo fight. Jose Aldo versus Merab. Ooh, please forgive me for mispronouncing this last name, but I want to say Dervashili.
It looks like Devella. I don't even want to try. My bad. Go ahead.
Once again, forgive me for mispronouncing his last name. I'll get it right. I just need to practice saying the name. I'm picking Merab to stop Jose Aldo by TKO. I don't think it's going to be a first round finish. I actually don't think it's going to come in the second round. I think it's going to come in the third round. I see him going to try to take Jose Aldo down, trying to wear him out. I don't see him trying to stand with Jose Aldo and try to get in a striking battle with him. I think that would be foolish of him and foolish of his coaches to advise him in that. I would like to see him take Jose Aldo down and utilize his strengths and his advantages, which is the grappling and the ground and pound. And from there, he should be able to grab a TKO in that third round.
I think I actually have Jose Aldo winning this fight. I think Jose Aldo is going to win this fight and earn his way to the next title shot. I think he's just overall better than Merab. I think on the feet, they can definitely go back and forth a little bit. He's not just going to beat him anywhere. But that being said, I think on the ground, maybe he might have to play defensive against him, because I can see him not just being the offensive person on the ground. But as far as on the feet, and if he's not on his back a lot, I can see him winning this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Merab as much, but just in terms of like going off of what I know, I'm probably gonna go with Jose Aldo. I mean, he's found a way to keep himself relevant up to this point, especially over the long career he has while still fighting pretty well. So I'm just going off that. I'm just gonna go with Jose Aldo, but I'm sure it's gonna be a good fight. Like this card is pretty good, so I expect this to be a good fight nonetheless.
Well, moving on to the next fight we're going to talk about is the co-main event, which is Luke Rockhold versus Paulo Costa. I got Paulo Costa knocking Luke Rockhold out probably in the second round. Luke Rockhold is coming off. Remember, the last time Luke Rockhold fought, he got knocked out brutally cold by Jan Blachowicz. Then he took some time off for doing whatever he needed to do. In the meantime, yes, Paulo Costa did get spanked by Israel Adesanya. He did get embarrassed by Marvin Vettori. That's the whole weight cutting issue when he just refused to cut weight. And this time around, it looks like he's been training. He's been cutting his weight properly this time. I think he knows, hey, this is kind of like a do or die thing for me, because if I lose this, I'm pretty much done in middleweight. And so I think he's going to come in seriously this time and just brutally knock out Luke Rockhold. Now, Luke Rockhold can win this fight, but his best way of winning this fight is not to get in a slugfest with Paulo Costa. Just pick and move, stay on the outside, and win a decision. But I just don't see that happening. I think Paulo Costa is going to find his chin, and it's not going to be a pretty sight for Luke.
I think Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to kind of share the same sentiment. Just with Luke Rockhold overall, like he's been around for a while, but at the same time, he hasn't shown that many great performances in the past couple fights. Especially like he's starting to get a little chinny, I guess you could say to some extent. So I have Paulo Costa hoping, and this is of course hoping that we're not seeing the same one we've seen in some of the previous fights, where whether it's weight issues or just not showing up to fight, i.e., when he fought Izzy. But yeah, I got Paulo Costa. Probably have it. It's a 3-round fight, so I got it. Paulo Costa knockout in the second round.
I think that Paulo Costa will win this fight as well. But that being said, I feel like for me, in my eyes, I have to really see him kind of perform on Saturday, because in his last few performances, he hasn't really looked the greatest. I think Paulo Costa is a good fighter, and I think he has more than the capability to win this fight, probably knocking out Luke Rockhold. But at the same point in time, I just have to see it from him in this fight. I think this is actually a good fight for him to come back on, because Luke Rockhold is a little chinny. And not only that, he has had a pretty long layoff. Like, this is a tough fight for Luke Rockhold to come back to. Like, I'm actually surprised he's fighting Paulo Costa of all people, but it is what it is. I have Paulo Costa winning in round 2.
Yeah. So, like, just a quick question, just in terms of Luke Rockhold, just based off like some of what we said in terms of like some of his previous fights not looking too good. If he were to lose this fight, do you think it should the next step either be like him stepping out of the UFC and going somewhere else, or do you find that there's possibly even still a fight or two left for him in the UFC?
I think he should retire, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, my bad, Lyle, but like, I think he should retire because, like, getting knocked out a couple times, coming back into the sport and possibly getting knocked out again, like, this isn't the type of sport where you can just do that. Like, you can get really hurt in this sport, like,
Facts.
Like, for real, like, why would you do that? Every few years you're gonna get knocked out for some money? Like, no, don't do that to yourself. Like,
Fiends and Addicts.
Like, that's crazy to me. He's making money doing other things. He can do other things and be fine.
Yeah. I think if he gets knocked out brutally, he needs to retire. Now, if he loses like a close fight, give him another fight, if that's what he wants, of course. But yeah, if he gets knocked out brutally, it's got to be like Rory McDonald. He has to retire.
Right.
Yeah. Scrambled eggs, man.
Yeah. So, well, listeners, now we got to probably your favorite part if you're an MMA fan, the main event. Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards in a rematch from way back then. I'm picking the Nigerian Nightmare Kamaru Usman to win, but by decision. I think this fight is actually a lot tougher than what people may think. I understand that Leon Edwards' last fight, he got rocked by Nate Diaz in that last fight. And people, Diaz fans, if he had another 30 seconds, he could have KO'd him, blah, blah, blah. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't ever happen. And people love to forget, for the other 24 minutes or 30 seconds, he was getting spanked around the octagon. Leon was having his way with me. So I think that this fight is going to be actually pretty competitive like their first fight. I just think that we're going to see Usman. If Usman comes out and think he could box with Leon Edwards is going to be the new welterweight champion of the world. Usman needs to really mix up his game for this fight. Strike enough, close the distance, take his ass down, work his ass, try to get ground pound, submission, whatever the fuck you got to do. Use your grappling in this fight. Do not try to sit there and kickbox or try to box with Leon. Leon is the better striker. I think Usman is the better all-around fighter. And I think with Trevor Whitman being in his corner, they could come up with a good game plan to stop Leon Edwards. I don't think this fight will be easy. I am taking Usman by decision, but don't be surprised, listeners, if you see this fight and it turns out to be a competitive fight or even like a split decision. I think it's a lot tougher than what people are initially thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially like if you even go back and look at what we've talked about for the past several months leading up to this, where it's like, oh, Leon, he deserves a title shot. We've been saying this for probably a couple years now at this point. Um, it kind of is a testament to the fact that he's no pushover in comparison to he's no pushover, nor is he a lack of competition in comparison to like who Usman's fought prior to him. But at the same time, it is going to be a tough fight for Usman just because of someone like Leon Edwards, where like you said, striking, he's going to be a more dominant striker. But we've seen in some of the previous fights with Usman where he has a preference of standing up with his opponents, which he's looked better than his opponents, obviously, because he's still been able to retain the title. But in this type of deal, this isn't something you want to go back and it's not something you want to take a chance with. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a fight where we finally see how we've seen with other champions before, where they kind of take their foot off the gas and just trying to find a way of like, how do I win the fight without putting myself too much at risk. In this case, like I can definitely see this going to decision. I can definitely see Usman saying, "Hey, how can I win the fight without exerting myself to the point?" Because if he's wrestling, he's going to get tired. Like that just comes with the territory. But it's how can I do this without tiring myself out and without putting myself in a lot of danger? Because Leon Edwards is no slouch whatsoever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just a quick thing. I agree with what you're saying, Spence. I think this fight it could be a boring fight, which I'm praying that it's not. But I think this fight is going to be kind of tough for both men. Now, if Usman was fighting, let's say Conor, because remember he was calling him out early in the year, then I'd be like, yeah, Usman could box and try out his boxing on Conor, because I think he'll knock Conor out. I think he can knock Conor out in the first round brutally. So, but since it's Leon Edwards, a fighter that we're going to take a lot more serious, I do think, hey, this is hopefully both men are got their conditioning up to standards, because this one might be a grueling one. And I'm not trying to hype the fans saying like it's going to be a back and forth rock'em sock'em. I just think that, hey, these are just two tough fighters, and they're really it might be a game of checkers or chess or whatever in this fight.
Yeah, I think what Kamaru Usman might try and do is tire Leon Edwards out with his wrestling. I think that'd probably be like one of the easier ways to a victory for him, just because like him standing up with Leon Edwards, like you said, he will lose that fight. Like that's for sure. And like, if you don't know that, you should go back and watch some of Leon Edwards' fights. Like he's no slouch on the feet at all. I think Kamaru Usman would have a better chance on the feet with Leon Edwards if he takes him down first and works him, and tries to get him tired, get his arms heavy. Like that's what GSP did to BJ Penn, like I feel like that would be the easiest way for him to win. And I think he has more ways to win than Leon Edwards. But that being said, this is a fight that Leon Edwards can win. He's crafty enough, and I don't think he's necessarily just going to sit on his back, while he's getting beat on by Kamaru Usman. I don't think it will go that way. So I see Kamaru Usman winning by decision, but this will be a tough fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough fight, but like I think we all can. Even with Kamaru Usman being the favorite, and us all three of us kind of having the same opinion where he's going to probably win by decision. It's not going to be a tough fight, but one thing I will say is that the people of Jamaica and the people of Nigeria both win when we get seeing this, definitely for a UFC bout, especially with this being as big of a bout as it is. So
shout out to both the Nigerian countrymen and the Jamaican countrymen. You definitely, hopefully, you guys show out for this fight and support. I know it's in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is basically a place where you might not think there's a bunch of Jamaicans and Nigerians there when you think of like Salt Lake City, Utah. But for the Nigerians and Jamaicans that do live in Salt Lake City, Utah, you should go out, show out and support these guys in the main event. And just hopefully the fight is entertaining. That's all we can hope for.
No, definitely, definitely. Hopefully, it's entertaining. I mean, of course, like when you're rooting for your countrymen, I think people. It's like any sport. I think when you're rooting for your countrymen, people find a way of finding. They find themselves coming to like the sport in some capacity. So, I mean, hoping honestly, like when we speak of like people showing out, I'm hoping that the city of Compton actually shows out for the U.S. Open for Serena Williams this year because I don't know if you guys saw, but recently she actually announced that this is her last year, and at the age I believe of 40, she will be retiring after this U.S. Open.
Yeah. Shouts out to Serena Williams. Not only she's obviously a legend, a living legend, future Hall of Famer for tennis. So I don't know if tennis has Hall of Fame or whatever they call where
She's
they
up there.
Yeah.
honor their legends. Um, Arguably, you could say she's the best female tennis player of all time. Some people like to say she's the best tennis player, male or female. I'm not going to sit there and debate with you because I don't know many tennis players. I do know Serena. So shouts out to Serena. Of course, shouts out to her sister too, Venus. Um, yeah, man. Serena Williams, living legend. I think she wants to continue expanding her family. So there's nothing wrong with that. And hopefully she's successful in her last outings. And that would be one hell of a swan song if she could win one more title before she goes.
Yeah, Serena Williams is a legend and definitely is. I think it's very good that I got to see some of her games while she was actually competing. And you only get to see legends play while they're around, and once they're done, they're done. So we all got to witness her win a couple titles and do really good in the sport of tennis. So definitely congratulations to Serena Williams on a great career.
Yeah, and it's it's just a beautiful thing, man. I think she has 23 US Open wins or some not if not US Open, she has like 23 titles or whatever, like some of the major titles within the sport. She holds are 23 Grand Slam titles, I believe. So like which is huge in its own right. So it's seeing something of that nature. So with someone starting out at the age of 17, coming into her grand entrance I believe into the US Open. This is like something pretty amazing to see. Like you said, we only see legends come by once. They're like shooting stars. After her, she comes from the era where we had Tiger Woods, and a few other athletes from various sports. So this is
Yeah.
it's the end of a chapter, but I'm quite sure we'll be seeing some. I'm quite sure whatever she does next, people will be in full support. So.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So, listeners, in not so good news, we have something that's been going on with actor Ezra Miller and the movie of The Flash. Now, WB actually came out recently and they cut, or I should say,
It canceled movies, right?
they've canceled a few movies and TV shows along with Batgirl that was pretty much almost all the way done. But apparently they haven't canceled The Flash, which is all the way done as well. So people are a little upset. But not only that, Ezra Miller is getting in a lot of legal trouble at this moment.
Yeah. I The only thing I will say about this is for the people that had their, I guess, projects or movies canceled and stuff like that, it kind of sucks for them. Unrelated to Ezra Miller and The Flash, it sucks for them because apparently they've been working really hard for a long time on the projects. The only thing you could hope for is these projects are revived somewhere down the line, or they could find work elsewhere where their projects may not be canceled. I mean, we know Warner Brother Discovery is going through a lot of changes, because they just did the merger,
Right.
and then the new streaming platform is going to be a combination of Discovery, Warner, and HBO Max. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Of course, we don't know because we're not involved at Warner Brother at all. We don't work for HBO. We don't work for Discovery, so we don't know. We're just going off of everything that's been publicly announced and discussed amongst the world of movies and TV, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for my thoughts on Ezra Miller and the Flash movie, I don't think the Flash movie should be canceled because there's, despite the fact of Ezra Miller's past actions, and they're very unfavorable to a lot of people, that doesn't mean the rest of the cast deserve to miss out on probably the biggest moments of their lives,
And
unless
a
they
payday.
in a payday, exactly. So I think that WB, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with Urza. I don't think the movie should be canceled, not for the sake of Urza, because honestly, he's dead wrong, but for the sake of the other movie cast members that, simply put, not, not causing any trouble legally or personally, privately, or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because like when you think about it, and like obviously maybe we'll never get to see this movie, but supposedly it's supposed to be based off a Flashpoint, and you would figure that'd be a big story to tell. So it's like if they can't get this done, it's going to be interesting just to see how things go for the superhero movies. And obviously, we like superhero movies here on the Hollywood Vice podcast.
Yeah, I think
man.
I think me and you like superhero movies. I think Spence, he's,
I love all movies, man. What you mean, man?
Okay.
I ain't seen a movie I didn't like yet, man.
No, I hear
you. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. In terms of the whole Ezra thing, really, I don't really have too many words on it. Still, just finding out the news recently, so I don't really know how to form my opinion yet. But I'm sure we'll see more to come. We'll see more in terms of how this whole thing plays out. But outside of that, though, just in terms of seeing things play out, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but earlier in the week, Angela Yee, she actually posted a tweet that the Breakfast Club, the Breakfast Club had ended as we knew it. And come to find out, that just meant that she's leaving the Breakfast Club at the end of the year to start her own show. That will be sponsored by iHeart as well.
Shouts out to Angela Yee, yeah. Like I think that's pretty cool for her to be able to go back to having her own show. And I think the Breakfast Club is going to end up finding a replacement for her, probably another female. And
I mean, do they really need a replacement?
They don't need a replacement, in my opinion. But that being said, I feel like they might try to make it like a big thing, like, oh, who's the replacement going to be type. You know what I mean?
I don't think she needs a replacement. With that being said, though, shouts out to Angela Yee. Shouts out to Charlemagne and DJ Envy of the Breakfast Club. If you're into rap music, hip hop, if some people still want to call it, and R&B, more than likely you've come across the Breakfast Club because what artists that you like or support has been on their platform, and you want to listen to their interviews and hear what they have to say. They had a bunch of funny segments on there, entertaining segments. They also had some controversial ones and some crazy ones that people obviously like to bring up from time to time again. I think the breakfast.
Shouts out to Ray J.
Yeah, it's funny. I was exactly thinking of that when I was talking. But Angela Lee leaving the Breakfast Club, good for her. Hopefully, she finds more life and more success in her future ventures.
Yeah, I mean, I think she'll be fine. She already has she has I don't know if you would say it's a hit show, but I mean, she's had this show for a long time, Lip Service, which is popular. So between that and then now having our own show again on outside of the Breakfast Club on radio, I think she's going to land pretty well. I think if anything, to me, this is just a signifier of what the next chapter of radio, to some extent, especially in our space, actually looks like. Because to me, I would say Breakfast Club was the leader of the pack when it came over from 2010 to 2020, at least, or 2000, give or take a year or so, or give or take a year or so. But yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see what comes from this. I'm not sure if at some point will this eventually mean that the Breakfast Club as a whole will discontinue. just because I'm quite sure there's other areas that they can find. They all have a lot of different things going on. So, but nonetheless, either way, it's not a lose. It's a win for everyone. She's leaving on her own terms. It's not like she got booted out. Granted, a lot of people felt like they knew this was coming, especially with just speculations and things we've seen in the media in the past over the past couple of years. But nonetheless, shout outs to Angela Yee. Yeah, shout outs to Angela Yee. I'm sure whatever the show that she puts out next, people will love, and her supporters will still come there. But
Do you watch Lip Service Match?
no,
Oh.
no, not personally.
Oh.
How about yourself?
No, I didn't know it existed until you said something. So
yeah, it's like actually like a it's actually like
I didn't.
Yeah,
You said it was a popular show, so I was just curious if you watched it.
No, it is a popular show. I know about it.
Oh, okay. No, I'm being generally honest. I didn't know that it existed. And this is not a knock at Angela Yee. I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? There's shit out there that's popping that I don't know. I just know that Spence does. He's more in tune with like the Shade Room,
okay.
Hollywood Unlocked.
Okay, that's the boy now. Get out of here.
That's funny.
The embodiment of knowledge, man. Come on, you know better than that, man.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, outside of that, I actually took out the time this weekend to listen to a little bit of the Game's new album, Drillmatic. It's fully produced by Hit Boy, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I'm not sure if it's fully produced by Hit Boy. That would make the most sense because when I listen through. I don't know how far I got in it because it's like 30 songs.
Yeah, it's long as shit. That's what I can say.
Yeah, it's a long album, but I do hear a lot of Hit Boy throughout the album and even Game making references. So I wouldn't be surprised. We all know Hit Boy has been on his thing for like the past year, kind of trying to show that he's that much more better or different than Kanye West. I mean, we've all seen that, especially with when Big Sean had to do his release. But
so
what did you think? Go ahead.
Well, my bad. What were you about to say?
Well, I was going to ask you, what did you think of the album?
So it's not fully produced by Hit Boy. There's a few producers on here, but from what I heard, I liked it. It wasn't all necessarily my favorite, but there's some songs that do stand out and I enjoy. So I'm curious to hear the rest of it. There's a decent bit more to listen to, but what I heard so far, it wasn't all that bad. I liked it. It's not my favorite Game album, but there's some songs on here that are definitely worth listening to. The Game's rapping like he usually does. He's good at rapping. So I can't say I'm necessarily surprised, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's a good album overall. Like, I haven't gotten through the whole thing either. I would say like I think I may have gotten through half of it. It's such a long album that to some extent this to me is like more like a playlist than anything of like just new Game records. I will say what Game does best is have taken the style of another artist. He does that well again on this album, sounding from Freeway to rapping over drill beats with Fabio, where he sounds like he's actually from this generation, to even going as far as dissing Eminem, which I think was the thing that brought a lot of light to this album, but which I personally felt which wasn't needed personally. But
I think he just wanted to send a shot at him.
Yo, bro, listen, man.
He just wanted to, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, there's nothing wrong with it if that's just your means of promotion. But to some extent, it kind of gets a little old.
There you go.
Especially when it's like, don't get me wrong, like if you're rapping and that's your style of rapping, cool. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't overly enthused when Curtain Call 2 released last week. And I'm not like super enthused about hearing someone rap like Eminem, dissing Eminem, mad about Eminem being chosen over him. To me, it's just too many. It's too many. To me,
like Channing Crowder. See,
yo, listen, man. Dr. Dre said somewhere like, "Yo, just diss me already, bro." Just that's all. To me, that's mentioning Haley. Like, which was funny. Haley actually responded to it on social media, which was actually pretty funny. But
I mean, like, what good reason do you have just dissing him? I didn't. So, I'm just gonna chime in, right? I know there was some new music that dropped. I did not listen to the Game's Drillmatic album. I will go listen to it, but it's not on the top of my list to listen to. For years, I was a defender of Game. For years, I was, and then I have a very good friend who also listens to the podcast. Shouts out to him.
He
He
does.
was, and he's been telling me, yo. The dude is corny. He's always in beefs. He's always trying to get attention to stay relevant. And then one year I was just like, wow, he's fucking right. Once again, this Eminem thing is another thing of that. But prior to that, he was dissing other people too. So the way I see it, it was I'm just not in a rush to listen to the album. I'll listen to it because the game can rap. He's not a bad rapper, but it wasn't on my to-do list. The only thing that I listened to off of Dramatic was the Drake interlude because Twitter was talking about it. So I went on. I was like, well, let me hear what the dude had to say. He didn't say anything crazy or special. He basically, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't do the feature for you. Maybe next time,
nah, that wasn't it. You listen to that. That sounded like someone pretty much tell him, I'm never doing a feature with you. Like,
but they did something together before.
But
though.
no, did you hear what he said? He was like, yeah, I just bought this house. I got what I'm saying? I got these other deals I'm working on. I got this other stuff. I just came from overseas. You know how how when someone asks you to do something,
they're just so busy.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, he said that he's working with the defense minister of Canada. So he's, hey, this music shit is not
right. He has.
I have other shit to worry about. There's money to be made. So anyway, not to even like deep dive of that fucking interlude, which could have been not even on the album for real. But I think he put it on the album because he knows, oh, Drake is on there. So I'm gonna go listen to the motherfucker because I want to hear what Drake has to say. And I'm pretty sure that interlude probably got a lot of streams. Anyway, yeah, I didn't really listen to Drillmatic, but there was another person I did listen to. I listened to Peasy, a Detroit rapper. He put out a project called Only Built for Diamond Lakes, which is kind of like, a play on Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links, right? Not saying as good as that, but what I'm saying is I checked it out and it was cool. There were some songs on there that I rocked with. I'm going to give it a second listen. And also listen to the Rock Marciano and Alchemist song, Deja Vu, because their project is coming out next weekend. So, yeah, that's all I fucking peeped as far as music goes this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of those. I'll have to check out Peasy, especially. Detroit has a couple good artists. Actually, another artist that did release something that I didn't catch all of it, but I know I saw some hype around it was Rod Wave. He released it. Yeah, he released the album. Didn't listen to all of it so far. Didn't, for the most part, what I heard didn't sound bad. Only thing I would say is it's not an album I could start. It wasn't an album I could listen to in the beginning of the day, just because it's like a lot of sad music. The first line he says on this album is, you ever feel like you were worthless? So like that's not something you want to listen to at like 9 a.m.
Right.
So
and there's people there that will listen to it at 9 a.m. Actually, there was a person I was talking to. I forgot the motherfucker's name. If I remember your name, I'll shout you out. This motherfucker was trying to tell me about how pain rap was fucking, hey, pain rap actually speaks to the soul. Pain rap is da 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 da. You gotta understand and feel pain rap because pain rap is da da da. And I told that motherfucker, I was like, yo, pain rap is depressing. Like, it's depressing. There's a lot of negative things of pain rap. XYZ person died. You're going through hardships, just nothing positive. I get it. There's going to be songs where you're talking about things that you went through, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's your catalog, plus you're singing hard as fuck because you're not rapping, that's just not the genre of music for me. So,
Hey, to each his own, man. I mean, to me personally, I think pain rap is a pretty interesting genre, especially depending on the artist. Every artist isn't that great.
Yeah,
Yo, I'm serious.
I hear
Every
you.
artist is every artist isn't that great, but I think there's still like the select few out that crop that I think no matter if it's melodic rap or if it's rapping, I think to me it's still I like the message that gets conveyed in that just because it's I don't know, to me, I think music should be felt. Kind of go to
mm,
me, and I mean, who knows? I think it probably ties back to that sentiment that Tory Lanez had earlier this week about how most music now is like mid, which I agree. I don't think I don't think we've had, for me personally, I haven't heard like music that really stuck to me like that in a while. But yeah, I
How,
mean,
how come it just
uh,
can't be a mid year for music? Like we just had a great year for music last year. You know what I mean? And the year before that, we had a great year of music. Like this year hasn't been the greatest year for music, and that's okay.
yeah, I
really,
mean,
I mean, is that really? Are we really going to subscribe to that?
That's
I
no,
I
I hear
I
you.
agree with I agree that it's a mid music this year.
Is it mid music because you only listen to a particular type of music, or is it mid music because every single thing that has dropped, because there's a lot of fucking music that's dropped from top to bottom, is all not that great, and that's why I'm asking: are we really subscribing to that? Because if you just listen to the shit on the radio and you listen to those artists' projects and albums, yeah, it's 100% mid. I could have told you that last year. Oh, he's dropping some mid shit. You already know he is. So motherfuckers is dropping 3 deluxes and because it's all whack and mid and shit. But if you can't say that for every single piece of music.
I
I
agree.
know I know the Kendrick Lamar album is not favored by a lot of people, but a lot of people who aren't favoring Kendrick Lamar are the people that's loving NBA Youngboy. You know what I'm saying? So the general consensus is, hey, Kendrick might have the best album of the year running. There's still people fucking with that music. People are still fucking with other artists shit that came out as well, like Future and all that. So Tory Lanez has the right to his own opinion, of course. He digests musically differently than we do, and we digest musically differently than we do amongst each other. But I can't subscribe to the fact that it's been a mid year for music. I feel like it's only mid if it's you only listening to the guys off the radio that sing their fucking heart outs and they can't fucking rap without the autotune.
I
Well,
feel like
to answer your well,
just real quick
I,
before you make a point, like I think that this year has been a decent year for music, but it hasn't been like as good as other years. That's not to say that it's bad. You know what I mean?
right. Well, to answer your question, for me, I
damn.
base I base it off of the music that I hear throughout the year so far this year. No artist in particular, but to me personally, I feel I have no problem with someone saying that it's been a mid year for music overall. Like to me personally, I haven't heard an album that really has stuck with me like that to the extent that I've heard years ago. Like I haven't heard an album like that in probably a couple years now, personally. But like there's still good music that gets put out, but nothing that really sticks to me in like the past year or two, possibly. So
See, and that's the thing. I was just thinking about this the other or earlier today, actually. Side A, which came out last year, was a great album. I love that album from West Side Gun. And that came out last year. It's not like we haven't had great music to come out. And even prior to that, like we had trouble figuring out what we were going to put between Benny the Butcher and Freddie Gibbs. So it's not like we haven't had an album of those calibers, and that's fine. Not every year has to be like that. That's why I see it.
yeah, well, I'm not, but even those albums to me, like those albums are good albums, but to me, like I said, like it still doesn't change my sentiment. I still feel like a lot of even those albums are good albums, but it doesn't speak to me in the way that other music has spoken to me before.
That's
Like
fair.
in certain eras, you have me or certain times you have music that sounds so good that it just resonates, and then there's other times where music doesn't resonate. It's good
so
music still. It doesn't discount that it's good music. It's just, oh, this music doesn't resonate to me to the point where it's like, yo, I haven't had I'll put it like this. I haven't had anything where I have to play it back to back to back weeks or months after it's been released.
I think, well, if that's the case, then then that means it's been like that for like over a decade. And at that, and my next question at that would be, if you have nothing hitting for you like that, then why are you still, tuning into it? That's like watching. It's like watching a TV show that you're like, yo, this show hasn't been good in years. There might be a good episode here and there, but overall the show is just falling off the bandwagon. Why are you still subjecting yourself to continue with the show? And that's why I feel like, you know, to each his own with the Tory Lanez comment. I just don't necessarily agree that it was such a mid year for music. I'm not gonna sit there and say, well, this is the best year for music or whatever. I mean, that's subjective, but I just don't think that music is super mid, especially when it comes from a guy who puts out music that isn't really touted as, you know, classical music to begin with. So like, I feel like I think that that thing is it's probably very subjective and a very personal thing. Because if rap music was a hit for me for a very long time, why would I continue to listen to it?
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, to say that because music hasn't hit for you in a year or two does to me that doesn't mean you just throw everything. I'm just not going to listen to rap music whatsoever. I still listen to rap music because there are artists that I like that make good music. It's just the fact that the music doesn't resonate to me like music has in the past. Now I don't know where you got the 10 years from. Like, why do you say music hasn't been good for 10 years if that be the case?
No, no,
He's
no.
just
But
throwing
you
a number,
said,
I think.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just throwing it
okay.
out there. I just feel like, for example, if basketball sucked to me in the past 2, 3 years, why am I going to watch it in the fourth year? And so
Hey,
that to me that doesn't make sense because I'm going to be like, well, I've put up with it for 2 to 3 years now. It's just falling off. I'm not going to watch. So when people say like, oh, I haven't watched basketball since 2012 or 2010 because it's just not the same, or I haven't watched boxing since XYZ, those people I don't get upset at because I'm like, hey, they stopped watching because particular aspects of that form of entertainment wasn't bringing them in, and that's why they stopped fucking with it. And that's how I feel about, not particularly aimed at you because you weren't the one that made the comments publicly, but if you say, hey, is it me or the music has just been recently mid or whatever like that, then I I will like to know the deeper explanation of, okay, what's really been mid? Like, what are you just specifically listening to then? Because that's not fair to the broad scape of rap artists that's trying to work hard, passionate. And this is not me defending any particular type of artist. Goes for all artists. So if you subscribe to that, that's fair. But it's just like, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of shit music out today, but I don't think everything is bullshit though.
nah, I mean, I agree. I don't think everything is trash. I
Yeah.
think it's just, and I can't speak for Tory Lanez in that situation. Like, because like you said, it's always going to be subjective to some extent, where depending on what you're listening to. But for me personally, I just look at it from the stance of like, in terms of why I listen still, if you haven't heard anything that resonates, to me, I look at it like this. I look at music like sports, right? You're gonna everything works in cycles. There's gonna be those down years where, oh, we're just waiting for, you have the LeBron in your league, and then you just, okay, now that player is getting old, who's going to take in that? Who's going to fulfill that spot? You might have to go through a couple years where you got some good picks, but they don't come to fruition to be that all-star. And then next thing you know, you get that all-star nonetheless. So like, to me, I look at music the same way, where I have artists that, oh, I know when Kerr drops his album, I think his music will probably resonate with me still. He dropped a project this year. It was good, but it wasn't the same replay value as like his last project. And to me, overall, I would just put it that way. Nonetheless, it's just, you never know with music. You never know what comes out next. Artist, you got the same artist put out two different projects, and one project could be horrible, and then another project could be great. And also,
Yeah.
also for me, just the last point, the thing I've learned with music is I always look at Dom Kennedy. Yellow
Mm-hmm.
album when it came out was trash, horrible, terrible, and Terabella for me.
To you.
Yes, Yeah, when it came out, yes, I thought that album was horrible. It took me 6 months later. I just randomly popped it back on 6 months after it came out, and it was an amazing album. So it's like sometimes music isn't good because of maybe whatever space you're in, or maybe the music isn't good because it's just doesn't resonate with you. Like I think it all just depends on. I think it's all subjective nonetheless. So
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what you're listening for and see if it meets those expectations. If it doesn't, then yeah, it is what it is at that point. I just feel like a comment like that coming from Torin Lanez, he kind of fits the whole auto-tune pain rapper vibe. Yeah, he could be a little versatile, but majority of his music is not versatile.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at your opinion. I mean, everybody listens to everything different. Like I can't speak for Tory Lanez in totality. He's put out a couple of projects in the past couple of years. I will give him that. But
do we have anything else for the listeners?
We yeah, we do. Nigel, there's something that you wanted to talk about.
No, we don't. We do not have anything else for the listeners tonight because I have food that is outside that I have to get to, unfortunately.
Yeah, the cats is having fun.
They're about to.
Well, let me do a quick mention.
All right, what's up?
All right. I don't know why he's cracking up. So
he's ready to get involved in this joint.
World-renowned actor Giancarlo, what's his last name, Nigel?
Giancarlo Esposito, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Fantastic actor. I've never seen him play a good guy ever. Probably one of the best bad guy characters. I mean, actors that could play a bad guy. One of the best I've ever seen. Well, recently, just coming off The Boys, because that was his last big showing. He said that he had a meeting with Marvel Studios, and Cement Series is dying. He is laughing. This is the entertainment he needed. This is
you gotta see if you can see Nigel's face while you're talking. He just thinking about the guests.
So he said he had a meeting with Marvel. He said that he wanted, and one of the things he wanted to be was like Professor X or whatever. Whether it comes to fruition or not, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But if he becomes Professor X, I'll be cool with it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be cool with it. Spence, will you be cool with it?
Man, I mean, I could give you 20 minutes of talking about this in terms of a deep dive. But listen, I'm always down for seeing like the new steps and the new things to come ahead when it comes to breaking down these type of barriers, definitely with characters and stigma. So
yeah, I'm cool with that. What about you, Nigel? Are you cool with him being Professor X?
Of course, I'm cool with him being Professor X. I think it'll be an interesting X-Men if we get him, for sure. It'll be a change. Definitely for everyone watching it.
What universe do you think he'll be a part of?
Oh, he's going to be part of the main universe if they put him in there. But that being said, listeners, you can follow us at the Highly Advised Podcast on YouTube. You can follow us at the Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram. Highly on Twitter. @Nosy_Jackson. That is Nosy, and that is Spence, aka Saint Kitch. You have been highly advised. This is episode 108. Don't be late, or else we'll fucking break your plate. You have been highly advised. We are out.